Well, it's a real pleasure to be here with you today, Roger. Welcome back to Oman.
Thank you, the pleasure's mine.
And what a great setting to be in.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Just
it really is fantastic.
Well, I know this isn't your first time coming to the Royal Opera House, Muscat, and it's certainly not your first time coming to Oman, having your wonderful store in the Opera Galleria.
My first freestanding store anywhere in the world was in Oman, in the Royal Opera House.
Did you know? I didn't know that.
No, I think a lot of people didn't.
Oh,
it was
my
very
goodness.
first freestanding shop was in this country.
That's incredible. Well, we're very proud to have the first one here with us.
I'm proud too.
Very proud. Moving forward onto your wonderful fragrance that's coming out. So can you tell us a little bit about the influence behind it and how Lakme all came about?
Of course. So Lakme, as maybe you know, maybe you don't, is an opera which has flowers running through the entire story, which is quite lovely. So in it there is a very famous aria and a very famous duet. The duet is called the Flower Duet, and so as a perfumer it was very easy. When I was asked, could you make a perfume to go with the world premiere? Easy, Flower Duet. So in the duet they talk about rose and jasmine, but I didn't want to use jasmine. I've used rose and a raw material called orris. Orris is the rhizome or the bulb of the iris plant. It's incredibly precious. It takes 6 years to produce the oil, and it costs 3.5 times the price of gold bullion.
My goodness.
And it gives this lovely, soft, luxurious feel to a scent. So we have these two flowers dancing around each other, flower duet. And this evening in the auditorium, when the duet starts to be sung, the whole of the auditorium will be perfumed, which should be a very nice experience for everyone.
Oh my, well, I'm going tonight.
Oh,
I can't
are you?
wait.
Well, there we are. So you'll experience the scent for the first time as the flower duet is sung.
Well, I shall come au naturel. I shan't be wearing any fragrance to cover up that.
Good. And then one of the other very famous songs is called the Bell Song, or the Bell Aria. And a bell in French is a cloche, and a very old-fashioned name for a lily of the valley was clochette de bonheur, the bell of happiness, or the bell of good times. And so this song is sung when Lakme is walking, singing a song to try to attract this man who's fallen in love with her. And so I thought Lily of the Valley, it tinkles and shimmers like her voice does. In the opera there's a style called coloratura, which Joan Sutherland, who is one of the first performers to really make this opera famous when Bel Canto was revived, really shows off the power and prowess of the soprano's voice. I'm sure the lead soprano who's singing Lakme at the end of a performance must die from exhaustion. But so I use this note to try to get the effect of Lakme singing to attract the lover. And so in the base of the perfume I've also used a very beautiful sandalwood, because the opera is set in India, and the most beautiful sandalwood in the world comes from India, from Mysore. And this material must be at least 30 years old before I can use it in perfume. But it makes all the other raw materials linger. So sandalwood, from an olfactory point of view, is like the cousin of oud.
Yes, of course.
So in the way oud makes perfume hold, sandalwood does the same job.
How brilliant. Well, I did read in an interview you said that oud will forever be fashionable.
Yes. Well, I had so many journalists years ago when oud started to be discovered in the West. Oh, another oud. It will go out of fashion. I said, of course it won't. This material is like sandalwood or jasmine. It's now part of an international repertoire, whereas once it was a secret of the Middle East.
Yes.
And now, because more and more people from the West travel, as we all travel around the world more, we're exposed to it. And how can you make perfume without this raw material?
Of course.
It would be like a chef not having cream.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
In this perfume, I've used 2 roses. One is a rose from, because the story is about East meets West in a funny way. So I've used a famous rose from Europe called Rose de May. Rose de May has to come from the town of Grasse, and Grasse is historically the capital of French fine perfumery. This rose is so rare, the entire year's production is less than 1 day's production of Bulgarian rose.
Wow.
I mean, it's really incredibly rare. And I use with it also rose taif, which of course is the rose from this part of the world. So these 2 roses come together in the formula. So this is Rose de May. You can see this fantastic golden
Oh,
color.
wow.
It takes over 300,000 roses to make 1 kilo of the oil.
300,000 roses.
All picked by hand before the sunlight touches them.
I shall use it sparingly. It's really beautiful.
It is beautiful. And then this is the orris, which was the material I was explaining, which is the root of the iris plant. And this has taken 6 years to produce. It has this very soft, powdery, almost buttery, buttery-rich quality. Very soft and very, very enveloping when you use it in a perfume.
Absolutely.
The next material is cedar wood. So whilst I use sandalwood for the reference to India, cedar wood gives this lovely dry warmth to the perfume. It's a very strong character.
Yes, yes. Oh, I'm very intrigued to see this all come together.
So if you don't mind putting these two together, and if you could just put them under your nose and waft them, so you can see what happens if you put orris and cedarwood together. And if I can just take that
Orris
one.
And cedarwood.
Orris and cedarwood. And then with this material, this is a speciality material where the orris and cedarwood have been distilled at the same time, and it makes a chemical reaction occur as opposed to a physical reaction. So smell these two first. And now when you smell this, you'll smell it's much, much softer.
That
smell
is
it?
incredible.
It's more rounded and much softer.
Oh, it makes you want to go back for more.
Good.
Oh, that's lovely.
And so the beauty of it, you couldn't get the same effect by mixing these two materials. You have to distill them this way. So it gives a very special accent on the perfume, which hopefully makes the perfume have a unique character.
Absolutely.
And then this bright, think of the bright tinkling voice of Lakme walking through the market as she sings the bell song to attract the lover. So this is Lily of the Valley, or Muguet in French.
Wow.
And what's interesting with this, there is no such thing as natural Lily of the Valley. It doesn't exist.
Oh.
So this is the work of a perfumer, not me, I buy this. But the perfumer recreates this so flawlessly, it tricks your nose into thinking you're smelling.
It is so flawless. It's incredible.
And then combined, this is Lakme.
Here we are, the final product. Well done.
Do you like it?
My goodness me.
So
there was a few of these in isolation I would like to wear, but together, combined.
And what's lovely, like the cedarwood has a strong character, but when you smell it in the scent, it's blended. You can't tell it's just there.
Despite it being a duet of flowers and roses and so forth, I was imagining it to be a little bit more heavy, dense scent because it's the opera, it's the grandeur, but it's actually so fresh and fragrant. It's the sort of perfume, I like very light fragrances. This is so universal to many people's
What
taste.
I think you'll find with it, I wanted that lightness because when you hear a melody floating in the air, it generally is light.
Yes.
But like a beautiful memory, it's something which stays in the memory as a good scent should.
Yes.
So I hope with my perfume, what you have is this beautiful balance between it's sweet, but it's not overly sweet because the woods stop it from being too sweet. It has a bright freshness, but it has depth to it.
Yes.
So I try to combine them. And then this is how the box looks. And so when I designed it, my idea was that it's like being in the theater when you sit in the darkness. So this is like the darkness of the theater as you look at the stage. On the top, this little motif here and here is on the curtain of the Royal Opera House Muscat.
Oh.
And then the design here is the Lily of the Valley, which is a reference to the bell song or bell aria. So this is just like when the curtain goes up and you're about to see the performance, and the what I like, the bottle is nestling in black velvet. The black velvet wasn't my idea.
Okay.
That was an idea of His Highness, who is in charge of the Opera House. He wanted it, and I said, well, what's lovely is it actually makes you think when you're sitting in the auditorium because all of the seats are velvet.
Yes.
And then inside you have the perfume. It's an eau de parfum, and again this idea that the show is just about to start. And so may I spray a little on your skin?
Oh, please do.
So you'll see how you find it on the skin.
That is so beautiful.
You like it?
I really like it, and I shouldn't say this to the nose, the master perfumer of the world, but I'm incredibly picky with scents.
Good. I'm pleased you're picky. You should be picky.
It's really beautiful. I didn't wear fragrance today intentionally because I didn't want to put you off.
Thank you.
With the scent.
I'm sure you couldn't put me off, but
it's just
that's
wonderful.
very thoughtful. Thank you.
My goodness, we have to tell everybody in Oman about this. I think this is my favorite Roja perfume I've smelt to date.
Thank you. Well, I think it's an enormous privilege and an enormous honor for me to work on a project like it. It's rare that I do such projects.
Yes.
And it's been a really lovely, lovely project to work on. And I fell in love with Oman. There are very few countries that I've wanted to visit. I mean, I spend so much of my life traveling the world,
yes.
and I'd always wanted to visit Oman. And I remember the very first day I came here was an incredibly special day because I came to the Royal Opera House and they were practicing the military tattoo outside. So you have all of this. And we were joking, saying, oh, how nice they've put it on for me, but we were joking about it, because I had no idea that they performed the tattoo here, so that was lovely. And then I was about to come to the event, and suddenly all the car horns were going and people were shouting, and I thought, oh, you know, where have I arrived? And they said that His Highness the Sultan, His Majesty the Sultan, hadn't been seen, he hadn't been well, and suddenly he had just made an appearance on television, so everybody was celebrating. And I love this, this huge love the people have here for His Majesty. That was special to me. And then when we opened the shop, there was a very, very big reception, and everybody was dressed in traditional clothes, and I was told that His Highness was coming for the opening, and I must address him a particular way, and I thought, if I pronounce this wrongly, I could be insulting without meaning. So I thought, no, I will just call him His Highness because I can't be wrong. And as this man was walking, everybody was going very stiff, and I looked like that. And I gave this man the most enormous hug and kiss as a greeting. I've known this man for years and years, and I didn't know quite who he was. He's been a client of mine for a long time. And then when I looked in the audience, all the front row, more than half the people I knew, I started to talk and I burst into floods of tears because it was so emotional, the thing of being in this place that I'd always wanted to be. And I just felt the love from all the people that stand there. That might sound a bit cheesy, but it's what I felt. I just couldn't talk. My voice cracked and I was standing there crying, saying just how proud and pleased I was to be here. And so on this trip, I did something which I loved. In the base of this perfume, I have a reference to Oman. Of course, it has in Luban, it has frankincense. And this trip was the first time I had the opportunity to go to Salalah. I'd never been. Fantastic. And so I went to see where the frankincense grew. And we went down in a big riverbed. I mean, I've been everywhere to see where the frankincense grew. So that means I will have very special memories of the launch of this perfume here.
Gosh, well, I'm so happy that you've chosen Oman as part of this long journey and partnership, friendship between...
Yeah. And it's that, you know, in years to come, if somebody ever writes my story, who knows if they will, but you know, my work is certainly in the annals of perfumery history, that creating something like this is important because in 10 years' time, it will become, he made this perfume, can you get a bottle? And in 50 years' time, it will become the stuff of legend. And that's lovely, because stories go on and on and on through millennia.